most students leave at least 40 points on the table by not properly utilizing Desmos on the math section. Now, in order to properly utilize Desmos on the math section, it's usually going to require two things. The first is going to be the ability to recognize which questions are actually applicable to Desmos and which questions have to be solved mathematically. That's going to save a lot of time by being able to make the distinction between the two. And then the second thing is going to be having a deep understanding of Desmos, how it works, all the tools behind it, and everything of that nature. Now, Desmos can be used to solve about 30 to 40% of questions on the math section. Now, when it comes to solving these 30-40% of questions on the math section, it's not that students need more practice, they need more math skills, they need more fundamentals. They don't need any of that. I mean, they can literally take these questions, directly plug them in, and without doing any math at all, solve the question. And not only get it correct, but also get it correct in 3x the speed. So they can save a significant amount of time per question, which will leave them a bunch of leftover time for those later questions where the time is actually needed. Now, to use Desmos, there's so many methods to actually use Desmos and how to plug in the questions, but some of the main ones that you see and some of the biggest time savers for students are, the first one is solving systems of equations. Any single system of equations, students normally will see them and say, oh, I can solve it with either substitution or elimination. But you should never do that. All you do is you plug them into Desmos. It's two lines that intersect. You find that intersection point. That's it. That's your answer. On every single SAT, there's going to be 1 to 2 system of equation questions. And that right there, if it saves you 30, 40 seconds per question, and there's 2 of those questions, that's a whole minute saved. And not only a whole minute saved, but 2 questions gotten correct. Another type of question that you can use Desmos for is when the question asks you to find an equivalent expression, meaning that it wants you to simplify the expression. You should never actually simplify. You should never actually be doing any math over here. Just take the expression, plug it into Desmos, take all the answers, plug them into Desmos, see which graphs match up, and just like that, you got your correct answer. Another really, really common one is when you have equations with constants in there, and you need to test different values for the constant to see what makes the equation work, whether it be, a no solution system of equations or whatever the case may be. Desmos gives you what's called sliders. It's a little a slider where you can drag it and test different values for the constant. And that's going to allow you to see how the graphs operate and how they work for different values for that constant. And again, if you use this enough and test enough values, you can find the right answer without actually doing any math. Another great one is using tables and regressions on Desmos. You can plug in a table of values, and from that table of values, you can tap a little button that says add a regression, and not only will it make the graph for you, but it will also give you the equation. So there's so many questions on the SAT where they want you to find the equation, and students start doing math and finding slopes and finding y-intercepts and things of that nature, but you don't need any of that. You literally just need to understand how to properly use Desmos, and you could do it with something as simple as plugging points into a table and having Desmos do the rest of the work for you. Even something as simple as finding mean, Desmos can do it for you. You literally just type mean, open parenthesis, type all your values, separated by a comma, and close the parenthesis. And not only that, you can actually combine it with something we talked about earlier, which was constants. If you throw in a constant like A, B, or C in your mean, in the list of values you need to find mean for, you can test different values for that constant using a slider to see how your mean comes out to. And you can test enough values until you get your mean to come out to whatever the question needs it to come out to. So it's tricks like this on Desmos that are just such big time savers. And one of the last main ones that I see on Desmos is being able to analyze and interpret a graph. So there's so many questions on the SAT where they ask you, hey, where does this graph start off from? What is the starting height? What is the initial value? What is the y-intercept? What is the x-intercept? What's the maximum? What's the minimum? Whatever the case may be, you can take those equations that they give you, put into Desmos, have the graph, analyze the graph, and when you have the graph right in front of you, you can look at the maximum, look at the minimum, look at the starting point, whatever the question wants. And again, you can do these types of questions without doing any math at all. All in all, Desmos is a problem-solving engine, not a calculator. That's the main distinction that students need to make. Students need to stop treating Desmos as just a plug-and-play calculator to do some basic calculations. No, it can be used to solve entire questions on the SAT. It's just a matter of understanding which questions are Desmos applicable and also understanding all of the tools behind Desmos.